What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Poker Vlog. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to film my normal intro or driving or anything like that for this video because it was raining pretty hard when I left. So we are off on our way to play another 1-2 session in Springfield, Missouri. Going to be playing a little bit deeper today, a little bit bigger feeling at least of a game. So that should be pretty interesting. We get into some big hands. So I think you guys are really going to enjoy this video. It's a pretty good one. Let's go ahead, hop into it. Okay, guys, in the first hand here, like you just saw, we bought in for $500. We're playing 1-2. It was, I think it's 100 min, but it's 1K max. I think buying it for 500 is okay. It gives us enough to kind of stand up to the bigger stacks, and yeah, I think it's pretty much fine. So, first hand, we look down at pocket eights from the cutoff. We're starting this hand off with about $470. Under the gun player, who we're going to call the storyteller from now on. He's a very aggressive regular who always has the craziest stories to tell about his crazy life. Opens up to $10 in a non-straddle pot. Middle position one player calls. Low jack makes it $40. I end up making the call. The button folds and the small blind calls. The big blind also calls, and so does under the gun. So we're going 5 ways for $40 each to this flop, which comes down a pretty great one for us. Flop is 9-8-3 with 2 clubs. So we flop middle set here. We're feeling great. Small blind checks, middle position one checks, under the gun checks. Low jack bets out $100. I tank for a little bit and raise to $220, leaving myself $200 behind. The big blind calls, low jack folds. So we're going heads up to the turn, which comes down the 3 of clubs. So perfect card for us. We boat up and the front door flush draw gets there. Can't draw it up any better than this. The big blind checks. I don't think I have a whole lot of choice here but to go ahead and put in the rest of my stack. Like I said, I only have $200 behind after the action that preceded this, so time to just go ahead and get it in. I would have done this almost regardless of what I had. Also, I guess this is not a great card if he doesn't have a flush draw, which is what I'm putting him on most of the time. I guess a overpair is possible, but I don't think that's insanely likely. Anyway, after he tanks for quite a while, he ends up making the fold. Maybe I should just go ahead and check this turn card here since I've got it so locked up. I think that's actually what I should do, probably, is just check. Yeah, I don't know, kind of a weird spot. We do win a really big pot, feeling great about that. But I think we could have gotten 200 extra on the end, possibly, if we'd have played it slightly different. A little bit later on, we look down at pocket eights once again, this time from the hijack, and we're starting this in with about $900. The action limps or folds to me. I go ahead and raise it up to $15 and get calls from the button, the small blind, and the low jack. Flop comes down 9 high with 2 clubs, so not a bad flop for us at all. A lot of possibilities here, and we have second pair, which seems fairly reasonable. The action checks to me. I go ahead and c-bet here like I'm going to do pretty often, and only the button makes the call. So feeling pretty good about where we're at in this hand. Turn comes down the 3 of spades, adds another flush draw, so we've got a front door and back door flush draw going on. I go ahead and bet $70 this time, hoping we can just end things here. Unfortunately, the button calls again, so kind of a weird spot. Not really sure what he could have. There's a lot of different holdings that are possible. He could definitely have either one of the flush draws at this point, maybe some kind of pair. Hopefully he doesn't have a 9 that's getting really, really sticky. That seems like kind of weird though, since I can have all the pocket pairs, 10s through aces. So anyway, off to the river, which comes down the jack of diamonds. So kind of a brick. I would actually say pretty much a brick. Both the flush draws miss. None of the straights really complete. I go ahead and bet out $120, trying to put as much pressure as possible on a 9. Not expecting to get called by much that I can beat though. We get the good news when the button goes ahead and puts in the fold. So we take this one down, 2 for 2 to start this session off, winning 2 very nice hands with pocket eights. Feeling really good about the way things are going. A little bit later on, I look down at ace queen suited from middle position. We're starting this hand off with about $1,000, which feels great. Action folds to me. I go ahead and open to $15. The hijack, the button, and the big blind all make the call. So we're going very multi-way to a flop, which is not a good one for us, guys. It's pretty much as pure of a whiff as you can find. The flop is 7-6-5 with 2 clubs and 1 heart. Yeah, this is a swing and a miss. I go ahead and check. hijack by his 25, the button calls, the big blind folds, and I don't have anything to do here in this hand except for just put in the fold and move on to the next one. It sucks to whiff with ace queen, but after doing so well in our first two hands that we play in this session, we have absolutely nothing to complain about. So I've been card dead for a little while when I look down at ace jack of hearts from the big blind, starting this hand off with about $1,000 in front of me. The action folds to the cutoff, who is an older Asian guy who has about $400 in front of him and is definitely an action player. He limps, the small blind limps also. I go ahead and make it $15. I think this is a clear mistake. I should definitely just raise it up to like 20 or 25 over these limpers. Possibly, I don't really know though. Definitely think I should be a bigger size though. The cutoff, the old Asian guy calls, and the small blind makes the fold. So we're going to this flop heads up, which comes down a very interesting flop for us. The flop is queen high with two hearts. So feeling pretty good about our super draw to the nuts. I go ahead and bet out $20 this time, and the cutoff raises to 100. Pretty weird spot. Maybe I should just pile it in right here with the nuts after getting raised like this. I'm not really sure what he's gonna have. Pretty weird spot. Make the call, and we are off to see a turn, which comes down the 5 of clubs. So not any help to us at all. Pairs the board, which is pretty bad for us. I think it might be time to actually jump ship at this point. I check, the cutoff bet's $100. I go ahead and make the call after thinking about it for quite a while. I think this is a clear mistake. With the board pairing, this is the perfect go ahead and get out of here for free, or not for free, but go ahead and get out of here card, and I ignore it and put in chips. The river comes down the 9 of diamonds, so no help to us, doesn't complete anything. Thank God it was a whiff, I guess. I'm not really sure what I should be rooting for at this point. I could definitely be crushed by a full house and drawing dead. I just really don't know. Like, what if it would have been an ace, and then am I going to call? Like, I don't know what's going on. I check, the cutoff bet's 100 once again. This time, I go ahead and put in the fold. All I've got is ace high, so I don't really have a lot of options here. Don't like the way I played this hand at all. Should have either played it much more aggressively or given up much earlier, but oh well, on to the next one, I guess. The next hand we're going to look at, I've got 6-5 of clubs from middle position 1, starting this hand off with about $800. The action folds to me. I go ahead and raise it up to 15 bucks. Small blind and the big blind, the big blind is the old Asian guy from the hand before, both make the call. The flop comes down a very interesting one for us. The flop is 5-4-3 with 2 spades. The action checks to me. I go ahead and lead out for $30. The small blind folds, and the older Asian player makes the call. Now, he's been making a lot of calls with some very speculative holdings. Obviously, I played the hand before really badly against him, but he's definitely an action player. Turn comes down the ace of clubs, so definitely a better hand for my range than for his. Unfortunately, that doesn't give us any sort of flush draw or anything like that. Yeah, not really sure what to do with it. He checks to me. I go ahead and lead out for $65. And he makes the call. So he doesn't think about it for very long. Not really sure what he could have here. Obviously, it's a very wet board, so there's a lot of stuff he could have. I guess there's some chance that he could have an ace. I think regardless, we're gonna have to bomb it on this river. Good news is we don't have to bomb it as a bluff because the river comes down 7 of hearts, giving us straight. He checks me once again. I think about it for a little bit and lead out for $125. He goes well into the tank for quite a while before eventually putting in the call. So we flip our hand over and he looks at the board for a second, counts up that we have a straight, and mucks his hand. So I'm not sure what he had, but we take this one down, so feels great. Another decent sized pot headed our way. Feels really good to get a bunch of value there on the river. A bit later on, we look down at another suited connector and decide it's time to get involved again. This time we're in the hijack. We're starting the hand off with about $1,000, and we've got 5-4 of hearts. The action folds to the end of the gun plus 1 player who limps. I go ahead and make it $15. Under the gun plus 1 is the only caller. So we've got a limp caller in here. Flop comes down, king 9-6, so a pure whiff. Under the gun plus 1 checks. I go ahead and bet out $20 and he calls. So unfortunately we have to go to a turn. We were hoping to just take this one down there with that bet, but oh well. Turn is a great one for us. It's a 7 of hearts. It gives us an open-ended straight flush draw. So we've got all the equity now. He checks. I go ahead and bet out $55. Okay with a call or a fold. Unfortunately, or fortunately, not really sure which, he goes ahead and makes the fold, so we take this one down here. Yeah, couldn't have asked for a better turn card. Definitely a good one to barrel on. We take this one down. On to the last hand of the session that we're going to cover. I've got ace-queen offsuit from the cutoff. Action folds to me. I've got a little over $1,000 in my stack. I make it $15, and both the blinds call, one of whom is the storyteller, the very active reg, and the other is another active reg that I haven't came up with a good name for yet. Flop comes down ace high, so great flop for us, obviously destroying their ranges here. I go ahead and lead out for $25 for value, and the big blind makes the call. So we get one caller, not feeling too bad about it, just me versus the storyteller headed to a turn, which is the 2 of clubs. Another not too bad of a card for us. Doesn't really help anything that's on the board. I bet out $50 and he puts in the fold. So we take this one down, feel pretty good about it. We got a nice big stack. We've been here for quite a while. Time to go ahead and rack up and get out of here. Well guys, we managed to find a win on this cloudy, blustery day in Springfield. I feel like we played pretty well. I don't think I did anything too crazy. I ran very well, so that's important. If you guys can run as well as possible, that's maybe the best skill to have in poker, in the short term at least. Feel very good about how I played. In for 500, out for 1140. So a nice little profit in a pretty short session, about 5.5 hours, something like that. So we'll definitely take it. Very happy with that. Really happy with how the videos have been going, how everything's been going. Thanks for watching. Thanks everybody who subscribed and gave this video a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. It helps the channel grow, helps keep me making content, all that good stuff. So thanks everybody. Once again, I really, really appreciate it. Have a good one. I will see you next time.